Welcome to Tennis Made Simple, our 10th video. This one's called Under Global Pressure. We have with us Paul Valino on camera and Dave Smith nearby. A lot of you probably thought, and I did too, that this would be our last video, the last one. But here's what's happened since the last video. In England, I've heard from Dave. You've spent a lot of time in England, haven't you?
Yes.
You like to eat there. A lot of good meals.
Cheerio.
Yeah, I don't know how they thought of Welsh rarebit. How did they come up with like cheese on bread? You know, that was amazing.
Leave it to the English.
But anyway, here's what's happened. Boris Johnson, Prime Minister of England, has contacted me, and Dave, you probably didn't know this. Boris and I went to barber college together.
Who knew?
No. He flunked out though. But he has told me that if I did not do another video, they're going to start using spices on their food in England. You know, we can't have that. So I felt like I had. And then Switzerland, I've heard, you know, last time the Swiss said that if I don't do another video, they're going to start making their cheese without holes. And you know what they've done? They've upped the ante this time. They have told me that if I don't do another video, they're going to make their cheese with all holes. It's going to be. So I felt like we had to do one more video. So here we are. Now, the highlight of this is an interview with the inventor of the non-complement in tennis. And when we get to that point, I'll explain what the non-complement is. But this is also an exciting day because Dave Smith, who usually runs camera and has spent very little time, if any, in front of the camera, is going to be our guest. So you're going to actually see, and a lot of people have told me, Dave is really funny, he's got great comic timing, and I totally agree. So we're going to have some fun with Dave Smith in front of the camera doing this interview. But first we have a few odds and ends between the last video and today that I wanted to cover. Last time I covered the double let, which is a way to get another serve. And I jokingly suggested that when a ball comes on the court, you get another serve. And when the ball clips the net and goes over, you get another serve. But I forgot to mention the real way that most players get another serve. And Dave, you probably know about this. Paul, you know this too, I bet. Your first serve goes long and it drifts onto the next court where they're playing another point. Mm-hmm. And if you want to get another serve, here's how most people do it. They just stand there and wait. They wait for the other court to return the ball to them. And if they're in the middle of a point, all the better. You just say, oh, there's another ball. There's a ball on your court. So you just stand there and wait. And then finally, after their point, you say, oh, we've got a ball in your court. They return the ball to you, and your opponents are probably going to say, take a first serve, because you just waited till the ball was retrieved from another court. Now, another thing that I wanted to cover, Paul, you've mentioned this to me, that you've had your credit cards hacked, didn't you?
Yes.
I had a Visa hacked, and a few people have come to me and told me that their tennis game is being hacked, that their tennis identity is being stolen. And I think I know how to solve this. Do you remember, Dave, you remember this? Last time we covered the racket rest, where if you're waiting impatiently for your opponents to serve, you put your hand here and you rest your arm on the racket. Mm-hmm. But I think the way, if you feel like your tennis identity is being stolen, it's, I think, because you're using the open racket rest position. So here's how to guard against that. This is the more secure thing. Paul, I don't know if you want to see this. Watch this. This is how you close it. Watch this. You close your arm, and that that makes it.
That's good.
You might want to see this.
That's good, Al.
Paul, if you, let me do this again in slow motion.
Yes.
Here's the regular racket rest.
Yeah.
Here it goes,
Oh,
and
wow.
now you're locked. This is kind of like
that.
the Norton to tennis.
That's good.
You're closing, and you're not going to get hacked anymore.
I like that.
Okay, a couple quick new things, and then I think, Paul, you've got a question for us. But a couple of new things. Extending your middle finger to your opponents and bending the second and fourth finger of the same hand is not, and I've looked this up, it is not an acceptable hand signal substitute for long. You don't want to do that.
Don't do that.
Okay.
Okay.
And one more thing that's come up. This is optional, and your opponents might appreciate it, but pirouetting at the service line is not required when you call out the set score 2-2. Dave, did you hear that?
Yes.
The set score 2-2, you do not have to pirouette at the service line, okay? That's good to know, isn't it? Okay, I think you had a question, Paul.
Yeah, I did, Al. We have a viewer in Spain just emailed a question,
Yeah.
and she asked, I'm amazed that in your 9 videos you've managed to cover the entire sport of tennis.
Yeah, we have. Really,
Is there
pretty
any
much.
part of the game of tennis that you left out that maybe you feel you didn't get a chance to cover?
Well, the only thing, and I think this is really interesting, it's part of the tennis game, but we have never said a word about it. Footfalls. A lot of people do it. Nobody says anything about it. At the professional level, you get penalized for footfalling, but at our level, at the recreational level, even in USTA, it's kind of something that a lot of people do and nobody says anything about it.
Right.
Now, for those of you who don't know what a foot fault is, it's when you're serving, you cannot enter the court. Your feet cannot enter the court. Maybe you, Paul, do you want to follow me over here? Maybe I
Sure.
can just show it a little bit. Footfall is you cannot let your feet enter the court until the racket has met the ball. That's a footfall. Now, the best way to guarantee that you don't footfall would be to serve back here by the tarp. You see, if you're serving here by the tarp, you're never going to footfall. But of course, the problem is you're never going to be able to get a serve into the court because you're too far away from the service box. So somebody asked me, and wait a minute now, isn't a footfall when you're running for the ball and you don't quite get there, and you say, hey, it's not my, no, it wasn't me, it was my foot's fault. You see, that's not what a foot fault is.
Very
okay?
good.
So I wanted to cover it. Okay, I think we're at the exciting moment now. Let me introduce to you a guy you've heard behind the camera a lot. Here he comes in front of the camera. Here's Dave Smith. Thank you, Dave, for being with us today. This is exciting. Here's the situation. The inventor of the non-compliment didn't want to do this video.
I can understand.
Yeah, he's either shy, doesn't like the way he looks on camera, or he could be wanted in several states. I'm not sure which one it is. But so I thought to myself, okay, I wanted to cover the non-compliment that he's invented. But I thought, how could we do this? And then I realized Dave, who's got theatrical skills, could play the role of the inventor. Now, we're not going to mention his name. I'm going to keep that anonymous. So we're going to call the inventor Fall Jelly, as it sounds a little bit like the name of the actual person. Okay. I have a lot of theater background. I don't know if you need this or not.
I do.
But I think you need a little moment to maybe turn around,
I do.
get into character, And then when I introduce you, then you can turn around and you're no longer Dave Smith. You are now Fall Jello. Okay. So turn around. Okay. Gather yourself. Are you getting in the character? Are you feeling it, Dave? Are you feeling getting in the character? Okay. So let me introduce to you, everyone, the inventor of the non-compliment. Here's Fall Jello. Fall, maybe we could see your face a little bit there. Maybe take your cap off. That'd be good. Now, for some of us, you don't know. I'm excited about this. There's the compliment. The compliment where you go, "You played great today. You were terrific." And then on the other end, there's the put down of your partner or your opponents. "I never want to see or play with you again." That's the, now in the middle is what this man has invented, the non-compliment. It sounds like you're giving a compliment, but the more you think about it, it's not really a compliment. It's a non-compliment. Now let me ask you, Fall, how did you come up with an idea like this? How did you develop the idea of the non-compliment?
It's because I'm a cold, bitter, negative person, Al.
Well, now that you mention that, I have played with you on the court for many years. I'm always amazed how devoid of facial emotion or expression you have. Sometimes honestly, when I play with you, it kind of feels like you couldn't care whether you live or die.
I could care less, Al.
I think that's embodied in your ability to do the non-compliment. Let me go through a few of these, and if you have anything you want to say, these are just a few from the last few months. Non-compliments roll off Fall's tongue very, very frequently. These are a few of mine. This was a great one. Do you remember saying this to me? We were playing together, and you said, "Nice shot, Al. You didn't have to move an inch."
Yes, Al.
Yeah, that was a good one.
I'm rather proud of that one.
That was a good one. A while back, this was really economical. I couldn't believe how much was communicated in this one non-compliment. You said after I missed a shot, "Al, movement is overrated." Yeah, that was beautiful.
Thank you.
This was about 3 weeks ago. I lost a USTA match 6-1, 6-1, but the next day I played really well, and everybody was complimenting how great I played. And you said, "You played great today. How come you couldn't do that yesterday?"
I remember that.
Yeah, that was another good non-compliment. Fall, do you remember the day we were playing together and I cut in front of you and I took your ball and I missed the shot?
I'll never forget it.
Yeah, and you said to me, "Well, I could tell you what you were doing wrong, but it probably wouldn't make any difference."
It wouldn't have.
No. And this was, I think, with this week. You tossed the ball to me. This was delightful. You tossed the ball to me. I was serving, and you tossed the ball to me. Here, this is for your second serve. You always hit the first one in the net.
Always.
Yeah.
Always do, Al.
It's a great, great non-compliment. And I guess my favorite, this is classic. This was before I had my knee replaced. This guy, he said to me before we started, "Al, what side of the court would you like to stand on?"
It's so true.
Yeah, because he knew I wasn't moving.
Yes.
But he was giving me the choice of court
To stand on.
To stand on, not move, but to stand on.
To
So,
stand.
well, thank you, Fall, for being our guest for this interview. I've got to really be completely honest with you. This was kind of an unpleasant experience for me.
Well, Al, coming from you, that means very little to me.
Oh, there you go again. There you go again. Another non-compliment. Well, thank you, Fall, for being with us. Thank you. Well, that kind of wraps things up for us this time. You know what I think I'd like to leave you with? Rather than do these non-compliments, I think a good attitude to have on the tennis court is to always be gracious and compliment your partner and compliment your opponents. You know, I play with a guy named Fred, who I'm sure you two have played with too, and he's a much superior player to me, but even after I hit the dumbest shot on the court, he'll go, "Good try, Al." He is gracious and is always giving you a compliment. So let me leave you with a final thought that might bring a tear to some people's eyes. Be positive, give positive compliments. Love can mean a lot more than zero in tennis. Yeah. Pull it together. So good luck everybody in your next match, and happy tennis everyone.